Time to talk a little fantasy rich, fantasy poor. Pat Kerrane from Roto World joins us for this. Essentially, guys, we're laying out the matchups where you can see a bump from some players, and we're laying out some matchups where it's a wasteland. You want to stay away?
Pat Kerrane writes this article, which is it's the walkthrough, right? It's called the walkthrough, and it's on rotoworld.com. It's great. It's comprehensive. It's a lot more work than either you or I would ever do. So he really he full on nerds out. And
it's amazing.
So Pat, as you've looked at the Week 7 landscape, give us a game that you think is fantasy rich that we should be targeting.
Sure, yeah. So I think the Dolphins and the Steelers is a good one. We get Tua Tagovailoa back this week. That should be a big boost for the Dolphins offense. He ranks second in EPA per play, which measures efficiency. He ranks fourth in quarterback accuracy. So he's not going to be quite as good as he's been to start, but still a huge boost for the offense. The question here is, can the Dolphins protect Tua? Right? They've had injuries to their starting quarterback now for 4 straight games. So if they can protect him, then he has a chance to pick apart this defense that has been quite vulnerable in terms of success rate. If you look at the Steelers in terms of their ability to get to the passer, even though Tom Brady had a little bit of a tirade last week on the sidelines, they only ranked 27th in pressure rate against the Buccaneers last week, the Steelers. They were 24th in quick pressure rate. So this is not particularly strong pass rush. They're 25th in pass rush grade for the season, 26th in the quick pressure rate. Tua should be able to be protected, which means we can have some quick hitting passes, yards after the catch, perfect for this offense. On the Steelers side, Kenny Pickett has been much more efficient than Mitch Trubisky. He ranks third in completion percentage over expected, with Trubisky at 27th, giving this game more shootout potential.
Barry, when you hear all of that, we know Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are starting.
By the way, I just like that. You know what's a fun stat is quick pressure rate. Like if you ask my wife, I'm like a league leader in quick pressure rate. I just want you to know. You have no idea. 100%. Yeah, 1,000%.
All
yeah,
right.
really quick off the line. Anyway, what I would tell you here is that when I hear a stat like that, when I hear all the positive stats around the game script and the game flow of this game that is on Sunday night right here on NBC and Peacock, I'm a company man. I like Raheem Mostert in this one. I have as a top 20 play. 47 of the team's 68 rush attempts over the last 3 games have gone to Raheem the Dream, to Raheem must start here. I'm not really worried about the Steelers here. They should be in scoring position often, early and often as well. Pat mentions the issues with the offensive line, but what's nice about Mostert is he's a better pass catcher than I think he gets credit for. They use him in that way. Steelers over the last 4 weeks are, in the bottom half of the league in terms of rush defense. I like Raheem Mostert in a game in which we expect the Dolphins to be leading to be a top 20 play.
Pat, when you look at the Steelers side of things, we know the Miami defense has not come close to living up to expectations this year. They've dealt with injuries and they've dealt with just underperforming. But you could say the same thing for Najee Harris so far. It's been a total disappointment for Najee Harris. Is there any promise of him getting a bump finally in this matchup?
Game environment can only do so much, and Najee Harris ranks dead last in rush yards over expected per attempt. He ranks dead last in running success rate via NFL Next Gen. So that's tough. He's also not been good as a pass catcher. He ranks really low in yards per route run. I think, sure, you can bet on this game to shoot out, bet for a touchdown, but I'm still considering benching him in the flex in several leagues.
He's had 0 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He's had one game this year where he's played more than 75% of the offensive snaps. We have run out of time, unfortunately. We can do 10 more minutes of just nothing but negative Najee Harris stats. I will give you one last one, though. I did my love-hate column, which is up now on rotoworld.com and NBCSportsEdge.com, totally free. After you're done reading the walkthrough with Pat Kerrane, check out my love-hate. And I do a bunch of blind resumes where and one of the ones I have is 2 players in terms of their rushing totals. And when you reveal who it is, it's Najee Harris and Daniel Jones. Like, that's what he is. Like, he's got the same amount of rushing yards as Daniel Jones does. That's what we're talking about with Najee Harris.
Close out the book on this game. Chase Claypool or George Pickens, or neither?
Yeah, I'm going to go with George Pickens because the expectation here is that Pat Freiermuth is back. And so I think a lot of Claypool's production has come with Freiermuth out of the game here. So Pickens, who's seen at least 6 targets in 4 straight games and played 75% or more of the offensive snaps in 4 of 6, in a game that has a little bit of a shootout environment, as Pat said, Dolphins 29th in scoring defense since week 3. Give me George Pickens as kind of an upside wide receiver 4. He comes in as wide receiver 34 for me. And I'm picking up Pickens.
Picking up Pickens.
See what I did there?
I absolutely did.
Yeah.
Just
Master of wordplay over here.
Just to confirm, I think Freiermuth has been cleared while we've been doing this show, so he'll be good to go. Let's move on to another fantasy-rich game here, Pat. Seahawks-Chargers. Over-under set at 50.5. Seahawks defense has kind of been a feast for whatever opposition they play. What do you see in this one?
Go, Chargers, go. Are you familiar with that clip
3 for 3.
at least?
I am now that I saw your head on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
I think the Seahawks defense really key here because Justin Herbert hasn't been Justin Herbert this year. He's not attempting throws downfield. And I don't mean that he's not attempting deep throws. He's also not attempting intermediate throws. Only Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz have a lower rate of intermediate throws this year.
Aaron Rodgers in that conversation is insane.
I know. The issue, one, he hasn't had Keenan Allen.
By the way, I'm just excited Carson Wentz got mentioned in any sentence with Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers. Like, like before the season, like, hey, there's going to be a stat where Carson Wentz competes pretty well with Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert. I've been like, I'm in.
Amazing.
I didn't know what the stat is.
Why
I'm
are we
in.
4-2?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
they're not throwing downfield. Herbert's not throwing downfield.
And we don't want him to look like Carson Wentz. I'm very sorry, Matthew, about that.
Well,
but
Carson Wentz has got something around his head. Yeah, go ahead.
But, Keenan Allen should help. Expected to be back. The other thing is pressure. The Seahawks don't generate pressure. The Chargers have really struggled to protect. This defense is super vulnerable on the back end. They're 30th in PFF's coverage grades. They rank 30th in passing efficiency allowed. So if the Chargers can protect against a defense that only ranks 24th in PFF's pass rush grades, we could finally have Herbert throwing downfield a little bit more. On the Seahawks side, they are a balanced team, and they're going against a balanced defense because they're bad at stopping the run, they're bad at stopping the pass. The Seahawks should be able to do whatever they want. We know they're going to want to run the ball, but this is a defense that allows big plays on the ground, which is important for Kenneth Walker's skill set, also important for helping speed the game up. If you're going to have running plays, you want big, long runs to help get volume into the game. And even with Geno Smith coming off a down game, still 7th in passing efficiency per play. So 2 offenses that could be scoring a lot of points.
Barry, a couple weeks ago, you called Kenneth Walker a potential league winner. I think he's off to a fiery start to prove you right. You got to be excited about the potential this week.
Running back 11 for me made the love list here. Chargers allow 5.8 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's the most in the NFL. 92%. That's what KW3 got last week. 92% of the of the Seahawks running back touches in week number 6. So it's a good matchup. He's getting massive volume, and to the eye test, like, the kid can just absolutely flat out play. So I'm in on KW3. I think you're already starting you're starting Metcalf and Lockett. How do we feel about Geno Smith, Pat, who last week came back down to earth?
Yeah, I think he's a solid, maybe even above a streamer at this point.
Yeah.
This is a good matchup for him. Like I mentioned, still very efficient. He's got 2 elite weapons and an offense that should be kind of like they were against the Lions. They're using the run game to help move the chains, hit big plays, and then Geno can work off of that.
Even despite the fact that they faced the Broncos, the Chargers are still top 4 in the NFL in terms of most touchdown passes allowed. Think about, you'd think like, hey, we got a freebie against the Broncos,
it's a get right,
and our stats would get better, and yet they've still given up 11 touchdown passes this year. That is tied for 4th most in the NFL. I'm with you on Geno. I have him as a QB1 this week. Low-end QB1, but still.
Yeah. Our last fantasy-rich matchup here, Pat, you have Falcons at Bengals.
Before we move off this game, just very quickly, worth noting, hey, Keenan Allen, that's we'll see. Like, I would start Josh Palmer if Keenan Allen is out. Keenan Allen limited in practice so far this week, but they have the bye next week, and they've talked about the fact that maybe they rest Allen until after the bye. That is a storyline to watch. Obviously, Fantasy Football pregame Sunday morning here on Peacock and CNBC. Will have all the latest there. Gerald Everett, a very good streamer this week as well.
Falcons-Bengals, over-under set at 47.5. The Falcons have developed a total run offense, and the Bengals look to get their mojo back through the air last week. So, little different styles of offense here.
It is. It's a clash of styles, which makes this fragile. This could be a boring, kind of slow-paced game because the Falcons play slow. They want to run. They're running like the Bears were to start the season. They're making a play to be the most run-heavy team in the entire league, but this might not be up to them. They're 6.5-point road dogs to the Bengals. And the Bengals showed another gear last week against the Saints. Relative to game script, they passed 21% more than expected. That's the highest by any team in any game this year. You have to go back to the Bills when they beat the Patriots in the playoffs last year to find a higher rate. They also operated exclusively out of the shotgun. Kevin Cole noted this week that the only 2 snaps that they didn't play in the shotgun were a quarterback sneak and a kneel down. They were exclusively out of the shotgun. This could be a statement game that we just got from the Bengals, indicating that they are going to be leaning into this passing game. If they do, we could get volume on the other side for the Falcons. I think they will still struggle with efficiency, but volume is very, very key for the Falcons. What we need from the Bengals is for Burrow to attack this defense that ranks 31st in pass rush grade, 30th in quick pressure rate, so he should have time to throw. He could have a big game this week.
The only Bengal that I think there's a question about starting, you're starting Burrow, you're starting all the wide receivers, right? Obviously, you're starting Mixon. I think is Hayden Hurst, who I think is a viable tight end streamer in this game. Falcons bottom 3 in the NFL in terms of most yards and receptions allowed to opposing tight ends. They've allowed 40 or more yards to a tight end in every game this season. And, of course, there's the hashtag revenge game narrative so many people, all the press is talking about. You can't – every headline is all about
miss it.
Hurst against the Falcons and just all the bad blood that is there, all the trash talk that's
He's
going on.
He's already had a revenge game against the Ravens.
So I will say this, Pat, my question for you is I think – you're right. I said this on the radio earlier. I said that the only thing more annoying by the fact that the Falcons refuse to pass is the fact that it's actually sort of working.
Right.
As Jay and I have talked about this, that they've covered the spread in 6 straight, like they're in every game. And so it's sort of annoying. And as a result, because of that low passing volume, Drake London made my hate list this week. Am I right? Because, as you say, they might be forced into a pass-heavy script. Where are you on Drake London? Where are you on Drake London?
I am willing to get hurt on Drake London. I would be starting him. He ran a route on 100% of dropbacks last week. He is the clear-cut number one. He's seeing a target share that's elite, not just for a rookie, but for a wide receiver just overall. He's a clear number one option there. I agree with you in your love-hate that this is not a good matchup for London, but I think volume over efficiency in this case. Now, the volume is no guarantee, but we could get volume. We could finally have someone push the Falcons to a more pass-heavy script, which would be really strong for such a target hog like.
Just outside I am at 31 this week, just outside my top 30. 4 straight games within 55 yards. Mariota has completed under 15 passes in 4 straight here. Bengals have allowed 2. Count them 2 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers this entire year. So, yes, if you are banking on talent.
Yes.
If you're starting Drake London this week, you're either desperate or hopeful.
Let's look at the other side.
By the way, which was, single Matthew Berry, by the way. That was sort of kind of my motto.
What a time.
College. Yeah.
What a time to be alive back then.
Exactly.
Man, sorry,
Desperate
I missed
and
it.
hopeful.
Crazy.
There you go. The Matthew Berry story.
All right, let's get into the other side of the landscape, the fantasy poor
Yes.
matchups. These are the games that are a wasteland, or projecting them to be pretty rough sledding here. Jets at Broncos. Broncos favored by 1.5. This game has trended towards a pick-em. Over-under 38. 38. You don't see a lot of those across the NFL landscape.
Right. And now no Elijah Moore. And
Russell Wilson has a new injury.
Right. Second straight week, Elijah Moore will get 0 targets. And Russell Wilson, of course, has another injury. I wish Jay were here so he could give us the betting line on what injury Russell Wilson will have after they lose to the Jets. What's the new injury that'll come up? What's the new excuse that'll happen there? Pat, where are you on Broncos-Jets?
I mean, you guys have seen the Broncos play, so
yes,
I don't
you're
need
out
to,
on Broncos Jets.
Yeah, I don't need to go too deep there. Zach Wilson, I think, is another reason to be concerned here. Last week, the only quarterback less efficient than Zach Wilson, Phillip Walker. So they're hiding Zach Wilson, and for good reason. He has not played well. I think we're looking at like a game where first to 20 points.
All right, keep going.
First to 20 points could do it here. And I think when you look at Russell Wilson's injury, the other thing is we're going to see more rushing attempts. Even if we get Wilson in this game, they're not going to be leaning on him. We could get Brett Rypien. The Broncos are running the ball about as efficiently as the Panthers are passing the ball. So and I think there's no way to avoid more rushing attempts in this game, given the quarterback injury. It's just going to be kind of a slog.
To me, the only Bronco you're starting is Courtland Sutton.
Yeah.
Like, you may have to throw a dart at one of the running backs just because you're so desperate here, but after Melvin Gordon played almost no snaps and Latavius Murray looked fairly effective last week against the Chargers, Nathaniel Hackett comes out and says Melvin Gordon's going to start. We know Mike Boone has. I guess if I had to pick a Broncos running back, I might say Mike Boone, because at least his role is
because he won't get benched.
Right, yeah, he's the third. Right, he's the third down back. Like, it feels like Gordon or Murray will be the early down back, and you might see a switch mid-game. But at least Boone's third down role should be fairly safe. But feels like against a tough Jets run defense, here it's kind of a three-headed monster. Ideally, this is just one of them will score. I just don't know who it is. Courtland Sutton, the only guy I'm starting in this game on that. On Courtland Sutton and Breece Hall are really the only guys I think you can trust in this game.
Another gross fantasy matchup, Packers at your Commanders. Packers favored by 4.5 points. This over-under is at 41.5, so we got out of the 30s range. That's a good start. But, Pat, obviously just not a lot to like.
I'm going to take the over, by the way. I'm taking the over on 41. Because I don't think people understand how bad my Commanders' defense is.
So you think this is a get-right game for Green Bay?
Probably, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Look, Washington, the only thing Washington can defend is itself in lawsuits at the moment.
Gosh.
That's right. I'm getting them all out
Yeah,
today.
you're good on
God bless.
All right.
Pat, do think.
Yeah, Green Bay offense needs to get back on track. They have problems in the offensive line, problems at wide receiver. Is there any hope in this one that they can?
You could have some efficiency, to Matthew's point about their, not being a very good defense here that they're going up against, but they play so slow that I don't know how much scoring we're going to get. They rank 28th in situation neutral pace. The Commanders are dead last. The Packers have also been run first. This year, they're calling plays similarly to the Jets this season. Being run first and slow is going to drain volume out of this game. I think that's what we're going to get on the Commanders side as well. Over the last 8 games last year with Taylor Heineke at quarterback, they ranked 25th in pass rate over expected. They were a very run-heavy team. They're similar to like where the 49ers and the Titans are this year. Heineke's in a total disaster, but he loves throwing deep, and he's bad at it, so that's going to lead to some inefficient offense. Just overall, I think you got inefficient, slow offense on the Commander side, maybe some efficiency on the Packers side, but definitely slow, run first, just not a lot of play volume.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's some viable starters in this game. Like, I think both Packers running backs are viable as RB2s in this one. Maybe Dylan Moore is a flex here, but to your point, I think they're going to go run heavy, and I think they'll be okay here. I think Lazard is a viable wide receiver 3. He's scored in 4 of the last 5 games. I think he's got as good a shot at scoring a touchdown as anyone on the Packers side of the ball. And then over for the Commanders, look, I think you're still starting Terry McLaurin as a wide receiver 3 here. There is a connection between him and Heineke dating back to last year. And how about my won't be but should be comeback player of the year, Brian Robinson, who has 72% of the Commanders' running back carries in the 2 games since he returned. Packers do allow the 5th most yards per carry to opposing running backs. You can run on Green Bay. I think Robinson has clearly taken over that backfield and has a good shot at getting into the end zone. So Robinson, for me, is a high-end flex this week.
You can really run on Green Bay.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.